Viking culture, which flourished from the 8th to 11th centuries, was a rich and dynamic mix of sailing, warfare, agriculture, and crafts. Originally from Scandinavia, present-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, the Vikings were known for their longships and raids, exploring, trading, and settling throughout Europe, reaching as far as North America and the Middle East. Deep loyalty to family and community was at the heart of Viking society. They were skilled farmers, herding livestock and cultivating crops, as well as skilled traders, trading goods such as furs, metals, and handicrafts. The Viking social hierarchy included kings, nobles, freemen, and serfs, slaves, and laws were often passed by local assemblies called monarchs. Religion played an important role, with the Norse gods Odin, Thor, and Freya shaping their beliefs about fate, honor, and the afterlife. Viking mythology is rich in legends and epic tales, reflecting their values of courage, exploration, and destiny. Despite their reputation as fierce warriors, the Vikings were also skilled artisans, producing intricate jewelry, wood carvings, and metalwork. Their legacy lives on today in place names, languages, and cultural influences both within and beyond Europe. Viking culture's religious. Viking religious beliefs were intertwined with everyday life and reflected a complex cosmology centered on the Norse gods and the natural world. The Vikings were polytheistic and worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses who controlled different aspects of life, nature, and the universe. The main deities included Odin, the main god associated with wisdom, war, and poetry; Thor, god of thunder, protection, and agriculture; Freya, goddess of love, fertility, and war; and Freya, god of fertility and peace. The Vikings believed that their destiny was controlled by these gods, and they honored them through blot, a sacrificial ritual in which they sacrificed animals, food, and rarely people to gain the gods' favor. These sacrifices might take place at key moments such as before battle, during harvest festivals, or when seeking shelter on a voyage. Vikings also worshipped nature spirits and ancestors, believing that they could influence their lives and future. The Viking view of the universe was divided into 9 kingdoms, with Midgard, Earth, being the world of humans, and Asgard being the home of the gods. Valhalla, Odin's hall in Asgard, was where fallen warriors chosen by the Valkyries went after death to prepare for Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world. But not all Vikings expected to come to Valhalla. Some believed in a peaceful afterlife in Folkvanger, Freya's kingdom, or in Hell, a quieter underworld for those who did not die in battle. Seasonal festivals were important in Viking religious practice. For example, Yule Jol was a winter solstice celebration to honor the gods and ask for blessings for the coming year. As Scandinavia was gradually Christianized in the 11th century, Viking religious practices began to decline, but their myths, rituals, and gods left a lasting influence on contemporary Nordic culture and mythology. Viking culture's rites of passage. Rituals and ceremonies were an integral part of Viking culture, reflecting their spiritual beliefs, social structure, and the importance of honoring gods and ancestors. The most important religious ritual was the blot, a sacrificial ceremony aimed at appeasing the gods or securing their blessings for important life events such as harvest, battle, or travel. These rituals took place in sacred places such as groves, hills, or temples, such as the Great Temple in Uppsala, Sweden. Offerings ranged from food and animals, usually pigs, goats, or horses, to, more rarely, human sacrifices to honor particularly difficult times or warriors killed in battle. Funerals were also central to Viking culture and reflected their beliefs about death and the afterlife. The Viking's condition in life often determined the scale of his funeral. For noble warriors and chieftains, elaborate ship funerals were common, with the dead either transported on a real ship or buried in a ship-shaped burial mound. The Vikings believed that a well-prepared burial would ensure a safe journey to the afterlife, whether to Valhalla for warriors, Folkvanger under Freya's care, or to Hell, the land of the dead. Cremation was also widespread, symbolizing the liberation of the soul. Ashes were often buried with grave goods such as weapons, tools, and jewelry that the deceased might need after death. Women were sometimes buried with household goods, weaving tools, and even horses, while the wealthy sacrificed slaves to accompany them. Seasonal rituals and festivals also shaped Viking life. Festivals such as Jol marked the winter solstice and celebrated the return of the sun. These rituals included feasts, toasts to the gods, and community gatherings to strengthen social bonds and ask the gods' favor for the coming year. Viking rituals were both spiritual and practical, shaping their understanding of life, death, and destiny. Vikings wore rituals. War rituals played an important role in Viking culture, as war was a central aspect of Viking society. Vikings believed that the outcome of battles was influenced by the gods, and they performed various rituals to gain the gods' favor and ensure victory. These rituals often included sacrifices, invocations to specific gods, and symbolic acts aimed at boosting morale and ensuring protection. Before setting out on a raid or battle, Viking warriors performed blots, offerings to gods such as Odin, the god of war, wisdom, and death, and Thor, the god of thunder and protection. An animal, usually a goat, pig, or horse, was sacrificed, and its blood was sprinkled on the participants and their weapons as a blessing. It was believed that Odin selected certain warriors who died in battle and were taken to Valhalla, where they could join his army in preparation for Ragnarok, the end of the world. Another important war-related ritual was the holmgang, a formal duel that resolved disputes between individuals or served as a rite of passage. Two warriors would fight, often to the death, to settle feuds or conflicts over honor and territory. The Vikings also believed in magical powers, and some warriors were said to have possessed seer, a form of sorcery that allowed them to predict outcomes or influence events. Certain Viking warriors, known as berserkers, were said to perform special rituals before battle that put them into a frenzied trance state that was nearly unstoppable. They believed they invoked the powers of animals such as bears and wolves, and that these spirits would possess them during battle. After battles, the Vikings honored their fallen with funerals and festivals, glorifying their bravery and ensuring that they were remembered in heroic tales. These war rituals reinforced Viking beliefs in honor, destiny, and an afterlife, making war a spiritual act as well as a practical necessity. Viking culture's authentic settings with proper costumes. The authentic Viking setting featured coastal villages with wooden longhouses, bustling ports, and lush fields bordered by the fjords of Norway and the farmlands of Denmark. The Vikings dressed practically but flamboyantly. Men wore woolen tunics, trousers, and leather boots, while women wore long woolen dresses with aprons fastened with brooches. Both sexes wore cloaks and belts, often decorated with jewelry made of bronze, silver, and iron. Warriors carried shields, swords, and axes, and wore helmets and chain mail. The setting was often enriched by religious or ritual activities in sacred places, where people wore their best clothes for festivals, sacrifices, or community gatherings. A historically accurate depiction of Viking culture must reflect their seafaring lifestyle, agricultural practices, and complex social structure. A respectful portrayal must highlight their rich mythology, crafts, and community ties, avoiding stereotypes of simple barbarism. A focus on their trade networks and cultural exchange with other societies will deepen our understanding of their true heritage.